Alright, we're back. One of the few things I don't have in stock. I don't stock that switch. Sold the last one in April, I didn't restock. I had a 12mm one, but not a 10. So, I'm going to have to order this up. I don't have it. So we have to put together without having that on there. Oh well. Next problem is the bolt holes here. Is it metric or not metric? These are metric. My metric bolt collection here. It looks like about a 5/16. So it doesn't go in there either. Yeah, what do we got to rotate with? We got nothing here. Yeah, it might go big enough. Yeah, it's metric. Okay, it's not that either. So, it's not American, it's not metric. Which one is it? The reason you want to jam it in there because there's a thread or two difference in pitch between the two. See, one's finer than the other one. So if you jam it in one, it's cross-threaded basically. I think the threads are just screwed up from not having the correct hardware in there all the way. Yeah, see, this one goes in good. That one went in. It's in there real deep too. Look at that. See how deep that went in there? The bolt can easily be a 1/4 inch longer than that. So now we got a problem with threads over here. So these threads here are screwed up. Let's see if we can just... That is a hard stop. That ain't going in. So whatever they did to that hole, they screwed it up pretty good. Yeah. Threads are definitely not good. If I put a tap in there, it's going to follow the bad thread and make them all bad all the way through. So I'm going to try to jam the bolt all the way in. Hopefully it'll work itself over to the good thread. Doesn't feel like it. It's cross-threading all the way down. Oh yeah. It is not looking pretty. I think I'm using a good bolt, it'd break off. So that'll be the next problem. Yep. I think I'm deep enough already, but... Oh yeah, definitely deep enough. It's a workout doing this. Butchery. Yeah, threads look nice in there now, see? Okay. Now we're going to put a lot of torque on it. If it takes torque, we're going to use it. If it doesn't take torque, we'll have to helicoil it. And hopefully there's enough metal in there to helicoil. A lot of times they drill them pretty thin, so. Let's do a Loctite on that one already. Oh, you dumbass. Don't forget to put the piston in there. Push rod. Yeah, that thing right there. I like these quick jobs, they're so easy to do. This is why I don't like banjo bolts with brake switches built in. The wires always break off. Same problem every time. It's pretty tight. It's pretty tight. A lot of adjustment there. Okay, so you can see the free play we have in here. So let's go in here and adjust this out a little bit. Light went off. There it goes. So there's pretty close there. So you got free play and you got piston movement. See. So the free play is this much the pedal, and the piston moving about this much before the hole uncovers. And you press it some more about there, and the brakes should start to work about here and be fully on by there. Hopefully. It's best not to put these things really tight, because all it does is reward you by sticking. I always like them good and loose. But we can fine tune that a little bit. It's better to be loose than tight, because tight means the brake drag, loose means they're just a little lazy on applying the brakes. Okay, that much clearance. Good to go. Okay, our banjo bolt in here. Here. Okay. Move it along. Okay, I'll go ahead and put some fluid in here. Start bleeding the brake. I know I got all the air out of back here, so there's no air between the first 3 inches of this line on back to there. We do have air up here, which we got to work out. See, everybody thinks about how hard it is to bleed brakes. See, every time you uncover that piston, that hole, it lets the air out of the system, see? See, before it wasn't doing that. See that little movement down here? That's where that hole is I just uncovered was at. See, it takes very little pressure, very little movement. Pushing all the way down doesn't do anything. Okay, so you got fine bubbles. See how you get that fluid moving up when I first push the pedal? That's moving that mass of fluid before you plug that hole. Before it wasn't doing that. Remember I told you that before if you watched the previous video? That's because that piston was, or the cup was still over the hole. It never let the air fluid go in there like it's supposed to. Okay, so now we got all that. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pressurize this right here. I'm going to bleed it right here by relieving the pressure, and we'll squirt a little fluid out of here. And we'll keep doing that until we get fluid out instead of air. And we stick a little bit of air in that line right there too, which is in the system. Okay. So that shoots that fluid up. That's what it's supposed to do. When you don't have that doing that, you got sticking parts. Okay, a big mess over here. All right. Always put the cover back on your fluid. You want to keep the moisture out of that. The silicone brake fluid doesn't absorb moisture very much, but it still absorbs. The glycol, it absorbs it like crazy. It loves it. Silicone doesn't like it, so it's like a bitter taste. It doesn't want it. Glycol is like having honey. It loves it. Alright, so there's the brake there. Now, we almost dropped our slug out of back here. See how the piston came up a little bit like that? So now I have to put the screwdriver in and bend it back a little bit. Now when I do that, it's going to shove fluid back up in here. Hopefully whatever air was in here will go back in the cylinder. Alright, where is my big screwdriver? Before this stuff wouldn't work very well, but look how easy that goes back now, see? Things aren't fighting me like they used to. Now hopefully that back blew everything out. We'll give it a couple of short little ones like this to make sure everything's good. There's a little bit of drippage going on here. Hopefully that's just overfilled at the top. Okay. Let's wipe this down, make sure we have no more fluid leakage. Never looks good when you see brake fluid dripping off your cylinder, so hopefully there's no damage. Shouldn't be, but you can see how it's dripping off of everything right now. Okay, we're going to put the rear brake caliper back in the back. Got the Loctite for that. Okay, these on there good. Little tool there. The brake pads are dry. If they weren't, brake clean the piss out of them. So they'll look good. Okay. We're using 2 shim washers, thick and thin. Don't forget those. I'm not fighting anything because everything's already pre-made and fitted. So it all goes together like it's supposed to now. Another thick and thin. It's always amazing how much fighting you gotta do to get this stuff apart, and then when everything's fixed, it all just folds together like it's supposed to. No drag. Okay. There's my 3/8 wrench. Oh, there it is. Make sure that's torqued. It's slightly loose. So 9/16. Double check our torques here. Yeah, they're tight. Okay, so all that's put together where it belongs now. So now everything's in here. So all set up. The rotor's all centered pretty good over here. In here now, and you can see a little bit of clearance on the pads in there. See how they're not dragging. Okay, now we're going to see, put the brake on and see if it works. It doesn't drag after the brake gets re-hooked up. So it's probably going to take a couple pumps of the pedal here to get the pads all the way over. So let's see what happens here. 1, 2, 3. It's up all the way now. 4. Yeah, it's right there now. See. Boom. So it took about 4 to 5 pumps to get it in there. If you let up slow, let it set, let the fluid fill back the hole. You only got those little holes. And push it again, go back and forth. Just let it do its thing. Everything works great. The wheel turns each time. Everything's working like it's supposed to. So when you're checking your back brake back here, you bring it around, stop, let go, then you pulse it back and forth like that. Brake, 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 brake. Make sure it releases good each time you do that. That's what you're looking for. So it's released. Slight drag on it, but not too bad. You can hear the pads lightly against it right now. Everything has to break in yet. But the biggest problem on this setup is there is actually no brake pedal return spring over here. So there's nothing making this pedal come back except your spring in here, which is not good. See, there's nothing pulling it back like that to get a clean release. Should have some kind of a brake spring on it. So there's nothing there. It's kind of stupid. Guess they're going to rely on vibration to bring it back up. So only it's bringing it back is that little spring that was in there. That's what's moving the pedal back. Like I said, it's just stupid design. See, it doesn't go all the way up, see? So even though I moved that hole back, see, you only go about an inch. See how slow it goes back. But the wheel's releasing in the back, that's all that matters. There you go. Simple brake repairs. Okay, I'm going to have to order up the banjo bolt over here with the brake switch in it. And I'll have to replace it. Now, to break this free, we're going to have a bunch of air getting in here. So right now, the pads right and the pistons in here have moved out a little bit. So like I said, if you drop the caliper down, let the pistons close up a little bit, then go up here and do whatever you got to do up over here, hook it all back up. You do a dry brake right here and go pop, 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 bleed anything you want right out I did here. Then you let the pedal up, then you go back up here, and you go ahead and squeeze those pads back out, and that'll take all the fluid that's in this whole system here. It'll run it all the way back up through here, and it'll shove all the air that's down in this line right back into the cylinder. And you get clean fluid again with no air. So that's one of the tricks you do. So anyway, that's how you do it. I don't like how it doesn't come out, but stupid. But I didn't design it. So you can see the piston how it clearly comes back. See, doesn't quite release all the way. That not coming back is holding the brakes on, so. Not the silver part, the black part. See, it comes back about 50 thou. And bring the piston back up. That's the brakes being held on. So it's a crappy design, but that's how they do it. Now next time we're in there, maybe we can put more spring tension there. Throw a couple washers in there or something, put a little tension on it, or stretch the spring out a little bit, get more tension. That might help it a little bit on the returning. Or put some kind of return spring on this pedal somehow. That would be pretty ugly looking. But oh well, there you go. Alright, so I think we got the back of the bike pretty well handled now. Brakes are on it. Axle's tight. No license plate bracket. Oh well, he'll have to get one of those yet. Put the master link clip on correctly. It was the other way. Reverse that. Let's got to check the chain once we get it down on the ground. And I found the cover for the primary, so I got to put that on real quick too. Alright, so I think we're done with the bike right now on the back of the bike. In the middle of the bike. Next thing that work is front brake. We got to make sure it's working, and we've got a new rotor right there to put on it. Alright, I got a lot of cleaning to do. Clean all this up. We'll be back.